Day. This is the midday news. I am Adetuke Olaleye. The rising cost of nomination forms for elective offices in Nigeria has continued to spark concerns over accessibility, inclusiveness, and fairness in the country's democratic process. Aspiring candidates are now required to pay millions of naira to secure party nomination forms, a development many observers say could limit participation to only the wealthy. Our reporter, Shile Oleyede, reports.
The increasing cost of election nomination forms in Nigeria remains a major subject of public discourse, with many questioning its impact on democratic participation. A political analyst, Dr. Adekunle Onile, described the developments as both prohibitive and detrimental to democratic growth, noting that high fees imposed by political parties effectively shut out competent but financial disadvantaged individuals. He warned that the trend is gradually transforming politics into an exclusive preserve of the wealthy, where financial capacity determines eligibility to contest elections. Dr. Onile further explained that this pre-elections exclusion weakened democratic values and could encourage corruption, as elected officials may seek to recoup the substantial funds spent during the nomination process, while acknowledging that political parties often justify the high fees as a means of screening serious candidates, a cause for reforms that will make the process more inclusive and reflective of true democratic ideas.
A democratic setup should be able to give everybody a level playground, not only the rich people. But the current trend now is that. So I think the prohibited cost of a nomination form should be abolished. And we should find another method. If the reason why political parties are raising costs is because they want to get revenue or they want it to be limited to those who are serious, that's not the best method of knowing those who are serious. And that's not the best method of raising revenue. Political parties are not supposed to be primarily to raise revenue. Their mandate is not that. Their mandate is...
Also speaking, a legal practitioner, Taiwo Paul, noted that nomination fees are determined internally by political parties through decisions of their leadership. He explained that while such fees may be affordable for wealthy aspirants, they remain out of reach for many Nigerians, particularly those from less privileged backgrounds. Mr. Paul, however, emphasized that the cost of nomination forms should not be used as a measure of leadership capacity, stressing that competence and performance are not necessarily tied to financial strength.
Actually, the cost of the nomination form is not feasible for all individuals within a country. However, what is expensive to A, to B, it is something that they can get with ease. So in that case, for the lower class, the cost of the nomination form is totally expensive. Many of them cannot afford it. While to the upper class is what they can get with ease. And it won't cost them anything to obtain the nomination.
Stakeholders says that although political parties may have varied reasons for setting high nomination fees, the growing cost continues to pose a significant barrier to inclusive political participation. They insist that for democracy to strive, the pathway to leadership must be more accessible and not determined solely by economic power. Shile Oleyede, BCOS News.
The All Progressives Congress has waived the screening requirement for President Bola Tinubu ahead of his 2027 primaries, declaring him duly cleared in line with the party's constitution and internal procedures. The decision was taken by the National Working Committee at its 188th meeting, held at the party's National Secretariat. In a statement issued after the meeting by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, the APC said the decision was taken in line with the powers granted to the NWC to organize and oversee party primaries and, when necessary, grant waivers in the party's best interest. The Independent National Electoral Commission has also fixed the presidential and National Assembly elections for Saturday, January 16, 2027, while governorship and State House of Assembly elections are scheduled for Saturday, February 6, 2027. INEC also stated that the party primaries and the resolution of related disputes will hold between April 23rd and May 30th, 2026. The Commission further announced that the campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly elections will commence on August 19, 2026, while those for the governorship and State Assembly elections will begin on September 9, 2026. A former governor of Taraba State and chieftain of the All Progressive Congress APC, Iroyin Ojokanri, has resigned from the ruling party, citing alleged marginalization and unfair treatment of his people. Ojokanri announced his decision while addressing members of the former governor, said he consulted with the supporters and stakeholders from Zing local government area before deciding to leave the party in search of another political platform through which he could continue to serve the people. He explained that he was joining forces with the like-minded individuals committed to the development of the area, stating that the years of loyalty and contributions to the party had not translated into fair treatment for him and his community. On him to contest elective office ahead of the 2027 general elections. He warned that continued silence over the alleged injustice against the people could further worsen their situation and called on his supporters to stand with him in the struggle to improve the fortunes of the people. New worries about the credibility of the 2027 general elections came up yesterday, with the Independent National Electoral Commission warning that growing insecurity across Nigeria could make it hard to hold free, fair, and credible polls. INEC Chairman Professor Joash Amupito, SAN, raised the alarm during a visit to the Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, in Abuja, where he emphasized that the persistent violence and threats to an electoral process pose a significant risk to the democratic stability. However, the opposition parties firmly rejected the idea of sending soldiers to polling stations, arguing that civil authorities should handle election security and that the military plays a supporting, lasting result role in Nigeria's election, used mainly in high-risk scenarios, but controversial due to legal and political concerns. Amupito noted that with the presidential elections slated for January 16, 2027, and governorship and state assembly polls fixed, INEC and security agencies, particularly the police, which lead the election security, was crucial. Responding, the IG assured Nigerians of a comprehensive, intelligence-driven approach to election security. It disclosed that the nationwide threat assessments and intelligence mapping had already commenced. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission on Wednesday said the Federal High Court in Kaduna has granted former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai access to medical treatment while in custody. The ruling followed a compassionate plea by the Defense Counsel during the proceedings in the ongoing trial of the former governor over alleged money laundering and corruption-related practices. El-Rufai and a co-defendant, Joel Adoga, are facing a 10-count charge before Justice Rilwan Akawa of the Federal High Court, Kaduna, bordering on the alleged conversion and possession of proceeds of corruption, as well as money laundering. The Defense Counsel specifically requests admission to the medical facilities whenever necessary and return him to custody immediately after treatment. The court stressed that all movements relating to the medical visit must remain under the strict supervision of the Commission. ICPC spokesperson John Ode, however, stated that the Commission would fully comply with the court's order while ensuring lawful custody of the defendant pending fulfillment of his bail conditions. Bandits loyal to a notorious armed leader, Ishiya Gwashen-Gawa, have reportedly imposed fresh levies of 10 million naira each to the Garin Lamido and Yuan Shuni communities in Bakuri local government area of Katsina State. The renewed demand comes despite several peace agreements previously reached between the local authorities, community leaders, and representatives of the armed groups in the area. The development was disclosed by newsmen who raised concern over the continued vulnerability of rural communities in the states. The latest levy has triggered panic among residents, forcing many families to abandon their homes for fear of possible attacks. Residents have also expressed frustration over what they described as a repeated cycle of agreements and violations, questioning the effectiveness of the peace deals previously brokered. Despite ongoing security operation in parts of Katsina State, the bandits are said to maintain dominance in several rural areas, worsening fear among farmers who depend on access to their farmlands. The situation has become a recurring pattern in several communities across the northwest, where armed groups impose levies and later launch attacks if their demands are not met. They warned that the continued payment of the levies could further embolden armed groups, potentially expanding their influence across more rural settlements. One suspected kidnapper has been killed, while two others have been arrested by the operatives of the Nigerian Security Defense Corps, NSCDC, Oyo State Agro Rangers deployed to the same axis following the gun-duel with the criminals. In a statement signed by the Public Relations Officer, NSCDC, Oyo State Command, Samuel Bebi, the Agro Rangers operatives, in response to a distress call from a sawmill area Isei, where the suspected criminals were operating, engaged 5 of them at the scene in a gun battle. Due to the superior firepower and professionalism displayed by the Agro Rangers operatives during the encounter, one of the suspected kidnappers was neutralized at the scene, while the suspects were arrested. According to the statement, 2 other suspects escaped into the surrounding forest with gunshot injuries, and a manhunt is currently ongoing to apprehend them. Items recovered from the suspects include 1 cartridge gun with live and spent ammunition shells, 2 cutlasses, 1 metal rod, and assorted charms. The statement added that a joint manhunt, including the NSCDC Agro Rangers, the Nigerian Police Force, the Amotekun Corps, is ongoing to apprehend the 2 fleeing suspects. The strategic deployment of Agro Rangers personnel across the same axis and other parts of the state as part of the command's proactive security initiative aimed at ridding Oyo State of criminality and safeguarding lives, property, and critical national assets. He called on the residents of Oyo State to continue supporting security agencies with timely and credible information, stressing that security remains a collective responsibility. You can reach us on GoTV, channel 134 and channel 113 on StarTimes. Say something. And that's the end of the midday news. Thank you for watching.
Do you know that goods and services being produced in the country are world class? Do you also know that goods and services being offered are cheaper when compared with foreign products without compromising standards? Why therefore do you condemn and devalue homemade goods to the advantage of foreign manufacturers? Let's change our attitude. Patronize homemade goods and improve our foreign earnings. Let us boost internally generated revenue for the nation and the pace-setter state. Let's take pride in our own goods and services. Together, we can promote made in Nigerian goods. This message is powered by BCOS.
unbeatable. That's the BCOS for you. Yeah, BCOS TV. Oluyole 98.5 FM Ibadan. Agility 92.1 FM Ogbomoso. Okeogun 96.3 FM Alaga.
Ẹ káàsán, àkóbí ọwọ́ iṣẹ́ bó ṣe ń yá sí látàárọ̀. Ìròyìn ọjọ́ kan rí ni mo mú wá fún yín, Bùnmi Elégbèdé lórúkọ tèmi. Owó gọbọi fún àtìrà fọ́ọ̀mù fún ipò òṣèlú lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí tí àwọn aráàlú ti ń fi ẹ̀dùn ọkàn hàn lórí ẹ̀ àti bí kò ṣe dára tó fún ètò òṣèlú ìjọba àwarawa. Olùdíje kan ni yóò sọ ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀ mílíọ̀nù náírà láti lè ra fọ́ọ̀mù láti díje tí àwọn òwòye sì sọ wípé àwọn tó ní burújí nìkan ni àǹfààní náà ṣí sílẹ̀ fún. Akọ̀ròyìn wa Oyèsílẹ̀ Olóyèdé ṣe àgbéyẹ̀wò ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí, àlàyé yòókù rí lẹ́nu Olúwaṣeun Akínọ̀ṣun.
Bí owó fọ́ọ̀mù olùdíje fún ipò òṣèlú nílẹ̀ yìí ṣe ń gbẹnu sókè sí i ló ti di nǹkan tí àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí ń kọminú lé lórí, tí ọ̀pọ̀ sì ń béèrè ipa tí yóò ní lórí kí àwọn èèyàn láǹfààní láti kópa bó ṣe yẹ nínú ètò ìjọba àwarawa. Ohun wòye ohun tó ń lọ lágbo òṣèlú kan, ọ̀mọ̀wé Adékúnlé Onílẹ̀ ṣe àpèjúwe ìgbésẹ̀ yìí gẹ́gẹ́ bí èyí tí yóò máa ṣe àkóbá fún ìdàgbàsókè ìjọba àwarawa. Ó wòye wípé gbígbé owó gẹ́gẹ́ lé orí fọ́ọ̀mù yìí yóò dínà mọ́ àwọn olóṣèlú tó bá dángájíá láti kópa nínú ètò ìdìbò, tó sì jẹ́ wípé yóò ní ipa tí kò dára tó lórí ètò ọrọ̀ ajé ẹnìkankan. Ó laago ìkìlọ̀ wípé díẹ̀díẹ̀ ìgbésẹ̀ yìí ló ti mú àwọn nǹkan mìíràn wọnú ìlànà òṣèlú wa, èyí tó ń ṣe ìdíwọ́ fún àwọn ọ̀pọ̀ ènìyàn láti lè kópa nínú ètò òṣèlú, pàápàá jùlọ àwọn tí kò bá rí jẹ̀ṣẹ́kù. Nígbà tó jẹ́ wípé béèyàn bá ṣe lówó tó ni yóò sọ bí ẹni náà yóò ṣe kójú òṣùwọ̀n láti díje du ipò òṣèlú. Ọ̀mọ̀wé Onílẹ̀ ṣe àlàyé síwájú wípé àwọn nǹkan tó ti ń wáyé ṣáájú ètò ìdìbò yìí ló mú akùdé bá ìjọba àwarawa, èyí tó tún lè fààyè gba ìwà jẹgúdújẹrá, nítorí pé àwọn tí wọ́n bá padà dìbò yàn sí ipò àṣẹ yóò wá ọ̀nà tí wọ́n fi kó àwọn owó tí wọ́n ti ná jọ nígbà tí wọ́n bá wọlé tán. Ó mẹ́nubà wípé àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú máa ń gbé àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ wọn, pàápàá jùlọ bí owó tó pọ̀ ṣe gun orí fọ́ọ̀mù tó káàtó tí wọ́n sì tún wà fún láti pa owó wọlé fún ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú kọ̀ọ̀kan. Ó tẹnumọ́ wípé bí èèyàn bá ṣe ní jọ̀bọ̀jọ̀bọ̀ lápá kọ́ ló yẹ ká máa lò gẹ́gẹ́ bí ohun tí yóò jẹ́ àfojúsùn wa nínú òṣèlú. Ó wá dábàá mímú àtúntò bá ìlànà ètò ìdìbò ilẹ̀ wa lọ́nà tí yóò fi ààyè gba àwọn èèyàn láti lè kópa bó ṣe yẹ nínú rẹ̀, tí yóò sì tún ṣe àfihàn ìlànà òṣèlú ìjọba àwarawa èyí tó tọ̀nà.
Eléyìí ò fààyè gba àwọn tí ó kù díẹ̀ káàtó fún tàbí kó jẹ́ mẹ̀kúnnù tàbí tẹ́ntẹ́pẹ́ ẹni tó rí ẹ̀ pé tọpọlọ ẹ̀ pé tí ó fẹ́ fi ìrẹ̀ jíǹ tó yẹ pé yes òun ní nǹkan tó dáa tóun fẹ́ gbéṣe fún ìlú, ṣùgbọ́n níbi pé kí ó kọ́kọ́ wá gba fọ́ọ̀mù ní mílíọ̀nù yìí wọ́n ti kún lápá, agbára rẹ̀ lè má lè gbé. So kì í sì sóhun nìkan ni ó kábàámọ̀ ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí. Ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà náà máa kábàámọ̀ àwọn olórí ọpọlọ pípé, àwọn olórí pípé tí wọ́n ò fẹ́ díje ṣùgbọ́n tí ọ̀wọ́n owó tí ò ságbára fún wọn. So ìgbàgbọ́ mi ni pé ó yẹ ká tún àrí yìí wò dáadáa.
Bákan náà nígbà tó náà sọ̀rọ̀ akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ amòfin Táíwò Paul tọ́ka sí wípé iye tí wọ́n ń ta fọ́ọ̀mù mo fẹ́ díje dupò nínú ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú yìí ló jẹ́ wípé àwọn aṣáájú ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú kọ̀ọ̀kan ló máa ń panupọ̀ gbé iye owó náà kalẹ̀. Ó ṣe àlàyé síwájú pé irúfẹ́ owó yìí ló jẹ́ pé àwọn tí Ọlọ́run bá bá gégi ọlà fún nìkan tí wọ́n fẹ́ díje dupò òṣèlú ló máa ń lórí ọ̀fẹ́ láti lè gba fọ́ọ̀mù, èyí tó sì jẹ́ wípé ó ń dènà àwọn kòlàkòṣagbe náà láti lè kó ipa nínú òṣèlú. Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Paul tẹnumọ́ wípé iye tí wọ́n ń gba fọ́ọ̀mù afẹ́díje dupò òṣèlú ni kò yẹ kí wọ́n máa lò fi mọ bí aṣíwájú bá ṣe dúró ńlẹ̀ tó. Ó mẹ́nubà wípé dídágájíá àti bí èèyàn bá ṣe lè ṣe dáadáa sí nígbà tó bá dé ipò ló yẹ kí a máa wo, kò yẹ kó jẹ́ wípé bí ẹni náà bá ṣe lọ́rọ̀ sí.
kì í ṣe pé àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú kọ̀ọ̀kan jáde láti sọ pé iye báyìí ni wọ́n fẹ́ ta fọ́ọ̀mù. Nǹkan tí wọ́n ti ṣe mítìn tán ti sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí tán dẹ̀ decide lé lórí ni. So tábà ní àtẹ̀fẹ́ blame èèyàn fún nomination form, àwọn kan ṣàwọn àbẹ̀ nígbà tí wọ́n make decision yẹn. So iye tí wọ́n agree tí wọ́n dẹ̀ sọ pé iye báyìí tẹ́ máa ṣe rí pé iye tí PDP gbé tiẹ̀ kalẹ̀ ó yàtọ̀ sí iye tí APC gbé tiẹ̀ kalẹ̀, ó dẹ̀ yàtọ̀ sí iye tí ADC tó gbé tiẹ̀ kalẹ̀. Another thing ni pé ṣé mọ̀ nípa àwọn èèyàn láti gba nomination.
Onírúurú ìdí ni àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú máa ń lò tí wọ́n fi máa ń gbé iye tí wọ́n ó ta fọ́ọ̀mù wọn kalẹ̀, tó sì jẹ́ wípé èyí ló máa ń fà á tí wọ́n fi máa ń gbé owó gègélé. Bákan náà ló tún jẹ́ akùdé fún àwọn èèyàn tó bá nífẹ̀ẹ́ láti kópa nínú òṣèlú láti ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. Wọ́n gbà wípé tí ètò ìjọba àwa ara wa yóò bá di igi àlọ́yè ní orílẹ̀-èdè yìí, láti dé ipò aṣíwájú gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ èyí tí ẹnìkọ̀ọ̀kan yóò lè kópa nínú rẹ̀, tí kò sì ní jẹ́ wípé bí èèyàn bá ṣe dúró re nínú ètò ọrọ̀ ajé sí ni wọ́n máa wò. Olúwaṣeun Akínọ̀sùn ló ń ròyìn fún iléeṣẹ́ BCOS.
Ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú All Progressives Congress APC ti yọwọ́ ètò àyẹ̀wò kúrò fún ààrẹ Bọ́lá Tinubu ṣáájú ètò ìdìbò gbogbogbò tí yóò wáyé lọ́dún 2027. Wọ́n sì kéde pé eléyìí wà ní ìbámu pẹ̀lú ìlànà òfin ẹgbẹ́ wọn. Ìpinnu yìí ni ìgbìmọ̀ àmúṣẹ́yà ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC fẹnu kò lé lórí níbi ìpàdé ìkejìlélẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ́gbẹ̀rún rú ẹ̀ èyí tó wáyé lọ́jọ́rú ní olú ilé ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú náà nílùú Àbújá. Àtẹ̀jáde tí wọ́n fi síta lópin ìpàdé náà tí akọ̀wé ìpolongo ẹgbẹ́ Felix Moka fi síta ṣàlàyé pé ìpinnu ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC ni wọ́n ṣe ní ìbámu pẹ̀lú agbára tí òfin gbé wọ ìgbìmọ̀ àmúṣẹ́yà náà láti ṣètò àti ṣíṣe àmójútó àwọn ìbò abẹ́nú ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú ọ̀hún níbi tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe àtúnṣe sí fún ìlọ. Sì jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ pé ìbò abẹ́nú àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú àti yíyanjú gbogbo awuyewuye tó bá ṣúyọ gbọ́dọ̀ wáyé láàrin ọjọ́ 23 oṣù kẹrin sí 30 oṣù yìí. Bákan náà ni àjọ INEC kéde rẹ̀ pé ìpolongo ìbò fún ìbò ààrẹ àti ilé aṣòfin àpapọ̀ yóò bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ́jọ́ 19 oṣù kẹjọ ọdún yìí, nígbà tí ìpolongo ìbò gómìnà àti ilé aṣòfin ìpínlẹ̀ yóò bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ́jọ́ 9 oṣù kẹsàn-án ọdún tá a wà yìí. Gómìnà tẹ́lẹ̀ ní ìpínlẹ̀ Taraba àti tó ṣe ìkànlẹ́gbẹ́ òṣèlú All Progressives tó jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára ìdí tó fi ẹgbẹ́ náà sílẹ̀. Ìyàmọ̀ kéde ìpinnu rẹ̀ lásìkò tó ń bá àwọn alátìlẹyìn rẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ nítorí ìdájọ́ ilé ẹjọ́ gíga ìjọba àpapọ̀ tó jókòó nílùú Jalingo. Bákan náà ló ṣàlàyé pé òun yóò kàn sí àwọn alátìlẹyìn àtàwọn ẹlẹ́kajẹ̀ka tọ́rọ̀ kàn láti ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ Zing kó tó pinnu fífi ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú náà sílẹ̀ wá ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú mìíràn tí yóò darapọ̀ mọ́ láti tẹ̀síwájú nínú sísin àwọn èèyàn náà. Bákan náà ló fẹ̀sùn kàn pé fún ọ̀pọ̀ ọdún ni wọ́n ti yọwọ́ kílàńkó àwọn èèyàn náà kúrò nínú òṣèlú tó sì jẹ́ wípé wọn kò jẹ́ kí wọ́n kópa rárá. Bákan náà ló fẹ̀sùn kàn pé àwọn èèyàn yìí ni wọn kò jẹ mùdùmúdù ìjọba àwarawa tó nínú ètò ìṣèjọba. Ìyàmẹ̀ tó jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ pé àwọn èèyàn náà ti wà lé òun lọ́rùn o láti díje du ipò nínú ìbò gbogbogbò ọdún 2027 tóun yóò sì sọ fún wọn ibi tí ọ̀rọ̀ bá dé dúró nígbà tó bá yá. Àwọn agbébọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ aláṣiṣẹ́pọ̀ ògbóǹtagì aṣáájú ikọ̀ agbébọn ní Iṣia Kwanshagawa ni wọ́n ti fi àṣẹ gbígba mílíọ̀nù 10 náírà síta fún àwọn èèyàn agbègbè Garin Lamido àti Yanshuni ní ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ Bakore ní ìpínlẹ̀ Katsina. Àkọ́tún ìbéèrè yìí ló wáyé láìnáání onírúurú àdéhùn àlàáfíà tí wọ́n ti fẹnu kò lé lórí ìpinnu pẹ̀lú àwọn aláṣẹ ìjọba ìbílẹ̀, àwọn aṣáájú agbègbè àti àwọn aṣojú ikọ̀ agbébọn náà ní agbègbè ọ̀hún. Àwọn oníròyìn yọjú ọ̀rọ̀ yìí síta, wọ́n sì ń kọminú lórí ipò tí àwọn èèyàn agbègbè ẹsẹ̀ kùkú wà ní ìpínlẹ̀ náà. Ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ yìí ló tún mú káwọn aráàlú kọ́kàn sókè tí ọ̀pọ̀ sì ti fi ilé wọn sílẹ̀ nítorí ìbẹ̀rù bojo ìkọlù èyí tí ó lè fẹ́ wáyé pẹ̀lú onírúurú iṣẹ́ ikọ̀ àwọn ọmọ ogun láwọn apá ibìkan ní ìpínlẹ̀ Katsina. Síbẹ̀ àwọn agbébọn náà ni wọ́n ń ṣe àkóso ọ̀pọ̀ agbègbè ẹsẹ̀ kùkú, èyí tó mú kí ọkàn àwọn àgbẹ̀ kó kọ́ sókè nítorí àti rí àyè dé oko wọn. Afurasí ajínigbé kan ti pàdánù ẹ̀mí rẹ̀ nígbà tí àjọ ààbò ara ẹni làbò ìlú NSCDC ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ṣe iṣẹ́ ìlú tí ọwọ́ sì tẹ èèyàn méjì ní agbègbè